Welcome to Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Hey everybody, this is LaDonna Marie, and I'm so excited to, be able to come on the broadcast, to be able to talk about a lot of the things that, some inspirational moments that I have with God and with the Holy Spirit, with my books, and inspirational talks that I always desire to have with others. And so this platform of having a podcast is one way that I can do that, because I really want to tell you my day-to-day life is I'm always in conversation, with God or with the Holy Spirit, to be able to explain and capture what it is that He would want me to say, what it is that He would desire for me to put out into the atmosphere. And so I'm so glad that I'm able to have this platform to be able to share those moments with you all, to be able to share those moments as as they pop up in my life. And so today I wanted to just introduce more of who I am as a person to everybody, and to really dive into the reason why I am so passionate and also motivated, and the reason why I write books, and the reason why I am on this path and on this journey. I wanted to share that with each and every one of you all. And so most of the time when I do interviews and I do different things, I always talk about my life as when I attempted to commit suicide when I was younger, because at that time in my life I felt like I was misunderstood. I felt that my self-worth was really like hanging in the balance. I felt like nobody understood me, because I always had this desire to be happy, to be encouraging, to be motivated, and to encourage others. And sometimes I was met with resistance. And so being a young person, a teenager, for me, that was something that I really did not understand, why there was a push, and why everyone did not understand, where I was coming from. And so there was a little bit of resistance on my end, because I felt like something was wrong with me. Like, what's wrong with me? And why don't I think like everyone else thinks? And, like, what is the issue, or what's going on? But the more and the closer that I got to God, the closer that He came to me, He began to show me that, this is the way that I made you. And although at that time I didn't have any physical, people in my life speaking those words in my ear, because I felt like that meant the most, but my Father in heaven was making sure that He was speaking those things to me, speaking the positivity to me. But, where I was, the place that I was in my life, I had just given up, and I was tired, and I no longer wanted to be on this earth, because of the fact that I felt so overwhelmed. And so, throughout my life, when God actually had that encounter with me after I attempted to commit suicide, and that He said that He was going to heal me. He was going to heal me and help me. The words that I write would help to heal others. That was a big moment for me. Not to say that everything in my life evaporated at that moment. Not to say that I was just quickly turned and transformed and life was all a crystal stair, like everything was just perfect, because that wasn't the case. I was still a teenager. I was still the teenager that attempted to commit suicide. And the thing about it is, I don't really think like any of my friends at that moment, I don't think that they actually knew about it, because I know maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I contacted one of my best friends from high school, and I asked her, I said, did you ever know that I had attempted to commit suicide when I was in high school? And she was like, no, she didn't know. And so, I was a very private person then, and I always did communicate my things to God. But when I was on that table, he spoke to me. I mean, I don't know. I think I saw white light and everything. But he spoke to me and just said that this is not the end of my life, and that there was so much more work for me to do. And so I knew then that his fortitude, his strength, and that me relying on him, that me putting my trust into him, even as a teenager, that was going to be the way, that was going to be the longevity, that was the path, that was the time in which that I was going to have to lean on to him and not to my own understanding. So yes, all of that sounds very, very great at the moment, but I could not do it without truly trusting in God. And so this conversation today is really just to give you all a deeper look into who I am, my path, the path that God had placed me on, letting you know that there will be some road bumps, there will be some stop signs, there's going to be some traffic lights, and you're going to have to slow down. Like, everything is not perfect, but I'm determined to do what he has asked me to do. I'm determined to go on this path, and I'm determined to help people to become emotional stable. I'm determined to help people get the inner healing that they need. I'm determined to let people learn more about their self-worth and be able to know that you're worthy just all by yourself. And so today's talk is just about, your inner healing and how God does that through my life. Many of you all, don't know my degrees are in social work. I have a bachelor's in social work. I have a master's, 2 masters, one in arts, in professional counseling. Then I have another one in human services with a specialization in counseling studies. I am a certified life coach. I am a licensed and ordained evangelist. And so a life of service to others, to helping them, encouraging them, empowering them, has been a part of my journey for a very long time. I don't think that it's never been a time. I would always tell people when I was younger that I couldn't stop doing this if I wanted to. And that's the truth, because even I found myself as a teenager when I started to write poems, after God had that encounter with me, I started to share them with others, and it helped them to feel better. It helped them to feel like someone understood them. It helped them to know that you're not in this by yourself. And so that started within me as a teenager, and it quickly, as I journeyed through this path of writing and encouraging and speaking, and also evangelizing, because I always found myself putting Jesus into the conversation. And, I didn't know about that until I learned about the fivefold ministry and everything about, I think it was around the year of 2013. But the thing about it is I was already living the life. I was already doing the deed, because I am a gift to the body, in which I've learned more about myself. And so as I began to learn who God has created me to be, so this was a part of my predestined plan. That is why I have that, I love people. I love being around people. So learning who I am, in this season of my life has been really encouraging. And it's been really exciting for me. And so Inspirational Talks, I started this about 4 or 5 years ago, and I heard God say, start it back up after I had stopped it. And I kept going, doing other things, because my comfort zone has always been writing. I've been writing, like I said, since the age of 14. So that's about 20 something years plus. And so sometimes when, God asked me to veer off to the side and do some other things, I would do them, and then I get, I love the background. Many people don't know I'm an introvert. because I do things because God asked me to do them, and I'm not going to be a disobedient child to my Father. And so whatever He asked me to do, I always ask Him to give me the strength and the courage. I always pray and intercede and ask the Holy Spirit to go before me and make my crooked path straight. So that's just the journey of where I have, started, and where I intend to continue to put my hand in His hand and continue to walk. So I know I said a lot. We're going to stop right here, and we're going to take a commercial break, and I will be right back with you. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show, Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie. And I'm back, okay? And so we started off because I just really want the listeners and people who come on, to my different talks or to my interviews or to different things to understand, of where I'm coming from, and why it's just like this is a part of God's plan for me. And so I have yielded to His plan. So the strength that I had, the might that I have, the fortitude that I have is because it's a part of His plan. And I'm just like Jesus. I want to do my Father's will, what my Father would have me to do. And so in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about agreeing with the transformation. Because anytime in your life when you are in one state and you're vying to get to another, there's a transformation that has to take place. There is a transformation that has to take place. I remember, and I'm always calling out years, but I'm just going to say, I had gotten finished writing lessons, Shattered Pieces Being Restored. And this was my third book. And God had told me to write that book because people, by this time in my life, after the success of Until Tomorrow Comes, the one that I listened to Him on how to write it, Holy Spirit guided me through like each of the different chapters, and it was, it became an international success, and it became known in Paris, and then also won another award in New York. And so I was, saying, God, I'm here, I'm listening. So He told me to write Lesson Shattered Pieces Being Restored. And that year, I think it was in 2014, it took me an entire year to write that book. And the reason why it took me a whole lot of, I know that it took me a long time that year is because of the amazing impact that was going to come through and the breakthrough in people's lives. Because this was a part of exposing the enemy on helping people to know that they could be restored. A lot of people get stuck in places and they feel like it's the end all be all, in which it is not, because God was telling me even for that book, that was the book that I had to share my story about how I felt when I attempted to commit suicide. So these were stories now in my adult life that I had to go back and bring up and be able to share with the listeners, be able to share with the readers, be able to share when I went out to speak to people. And so when I got finished with that book, I asked God, I said, what do I do next? And He said, I need you now to open your mouth and I need you to speak. And I was like, you know me, God. You know where you found me at 14. This is like years later. I said, you know where you found me at? You found me in my room, writing, just listening to you, having the ear of the learned, waiting to hear what you wanted me to say. So I don't want to go out there and speak to people about these things. I really didn't know, I didn't have these grandiose words or these, my speech wasn't as perfected then on like what to say or how much to give, or I just was not authentic about this story anyway, because I had spent half of my life not talking about the suicide, not talking about how I felt. And so when God asked me to share that, I had to like the topic of this section is I had to agree with the transformation. And the first part of agreeing with the transformation was I had to know myself. I had to become aware of my flaws and all. And so I had to become accepting of who I was as LaDonna. And so Lesson Shatter Pieces Being Restored. In this book, it was written about three young ladies. And it was Chantel, Casey, and Mandy. And one, they had growing pains. The second was misconceptions of love. And the last was enough is enough. And so in growing pains, you were going through different areas of your life in which God was, I was having to grow. I was having to stretch, and it didn't feel good because they were growing pains. And misconceptions of love, we were looking at aspects of how we look at love. A lot of people don't really know. If you go to the Bible and you look in 1 Corinthians 13, when it says love is patient, love is kind, love records no wrong, love is not puffed up. Like if we really loved the way that God laid it out in the Bible, then a lot of these things that we call love, because it's really not love, because love is not supposed to hurt. And so misconceptions, that's the reason why I dug into misconceptions of love, because a lot of the stuff we got wrong. A lot of it wasn't the way that it was supposed to be and how we were supposed to look at it. And then the enough is enough part was a part that we just needed to know that enough is enough, and that that we needed to grow through something else, that we needed to learn a different way, that by now we should be tired of going through the same thing. We should be tired of, banging our head up against the wall, because that definition for insanity is when you can continue to do the same thing over and over again. So I was learning that enough is enough. So through this first part of agreeing with the transformation was that we had to know ourselves and become aware of our flaws in all. Yes, so the second part of agreeing with the transformation is to become active in the process and get motivated, because the path may not be easy. And that is a very interesting point, because I think a lot of us think that we are not supposed to go through anything. I don't know if we have a sense of entitlement, or we just feel like, we always we ask God, why me? But I'm going to correct that, because I used to do that too. And then then I had to know that a servant is not higher than his master. And so that if Jesus went through the same thing while he was on the earth, and he came to save the earth, to save the world, then what do I think? Or why didn't I think that some things would happen to me? Because I learned that it's a part of the process. And as I studied the Bible, and I know as many of you out there that are listening, as you begin to study the Bible, there are going to be a lot of people in there that had processes that they had to go through. They had to actually go through. So become active in the process and get motivated. And so a lot of my writing started to become lessons, because I had to learn these lessons. And once I learned the lessons, I began to put them in books in ways that other people could learn them too. And so they could see them from their point of view. And so I got motivated to help people to see things the way that they did. Maybe if you were in something and you were unable to see your self-worth, or you were unable to feel stable because of where you are, then I provided, and the Holy Spirit provided some poems or some different scenarios that would help you to have your own aha moment, because each one of us has our own path. Nobody's journey looks 100% the same. And so I'm not saying that I'm saying that it's not going to be easy. So I want you all to keep your head up, to continue to move forward, and to just, know that God is with you in every situation. He says in the Bible that he would never leave you or forsake you. And that was one of the reasons why, I wrote the book this year called Things I Wish I Knew, Letters to My Little Sisters, because I know that I've experienced some things, and the way the Holy Spirit downloaded some things to me to share, some things about the journey, some things that, how to overcome these obstacles, how to, overcome fear or your journey or your identity, or how to deal with friendships and family and, purity, how to see these things. And so I wanted to, as a sister, as a woman, I wanted to share things that I wish I knew, because it's just an intimate conversation to help, us evolve. I would love to have someone that would have spoke into my life, as God is allowing me to do with these books. But I thank God that the Holy Spirit was there to guide me and to help me. And so each one of the books that I do write, they're inspirational downloads, how He helps me to use the creative gift He's given me to write, to help people to heal through the writings, and lead them, back to Jesus Christ, and lead them to Him. And I'm being the vessel that helps. So become active in the process and get motivated, because the path may not be easy. I also want to just say, immerse yourself into the process and do something different. So doing something different looks like you have to come out of the norm. You have to come out of what you've done every day. You have to start to do something different. Whereas you notice yourself always having something negative to say, then you need to start to change those negative words to positive words or positive affirmations. Or where you got up in the morning and you just, started your day, then maybe you would, start your day with a prayer. Start your day with some positive words or some quotes or quoting something positive. I look in the mirror and I speak positive things to myself and about myself. When I read Bible verses that will help me, that resonates with a journey that I'm going. So in order to do something different, to change the narrative of your life, you have to do something different. I know we've heard this saying that old ways don't open up new doors, and they don't. You can't do things the way that you did them in 2015 and 2019 and expect in 2020 for that to work. So you have to do something different. Also, agreeing with to agree with the transformation in your life, then you have to come up with a plan. Like, what would I do? What will this look like? And you commit to doing something different. And so coming up with a plan, coming up with a way to say, hey, I know now where my goal is, or if I want to speak positive things to myself every day, then I'm going to write it in a planner, put it in my phone. I'm going to change, the screensaver of my phone. I'm going to, spend my lunch break, saying positive things. So you have to come up with a plan to be able to do something different, so that things won't always be the way that they usually be, and they won't be the same. Agreeing with the transformation and getting this inner healing in your life, it's something that is positive and is needed, because I can truly say that there are a lot of things that we learned that are not the way that, they are supposed to be. That's one of the reasons why I know that God gave me my nonprofit called Planting Positive Seeds, in which this is a Planting Positive Seeds podcast, because I want to plant positive seeds in the lives of others. And how do I do that? I promote positivity by serving others, by being nice, being kind, encouraging them, being a shoulder to lean on. Being someone that can encourage them with positive things, with Bible verses, just an outlet to have fun, to teach people self-love, self-awareness, how to love on themselves. The retreats and the conferences and things that are usually done and led by the Holy Spirit is to help people to evolve and to open their eyes to new things, because most of the time we only do with the things that are familiar to us. And so in order for us to change the narrative, we have to step outside of our norm of what we do all the time. And so I'm very, very excited about agreeing with the transformation, about, introducing inner healing to you all, and then having this podcast, this Inspirational Talks with me, to just share with you more of my path and more of things that God has given me so that you can apply it to your life and you can grow. Each one of the books that God has given me, they all talk about inner healing and overcoming obstacles, because I have seen many people who smile, but they have a lot of things that are unresolved, and they need to handle it, and sometimes it manifests in different ways. And so I hope that something that was said in this podcast today, I hope that it blessed your life. I hope that it gave you some things that you could take with you to move forward. This is LaDonna Marie, and I am so happy that you joined me. Come back. You can leave a message on the podcast. Your message can be featured in one of these shows. And so I hope that you have a great and amazing night. This is international multi-award-winning author LaDonna Marie. Stay blessed, and I can't wait to see you on the next time that we have this podcast. Blessings. This has been another purpose-packed episode of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Please remember to like, share, and tell your friends about the podcast. Stay tuned for many more Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie.